Yeah, I know what you're thinking. You can get a job in the Middle East simply by trying or by magic, through others, or by a fluke. Remember that competition is everywhere. Some here, some there, but bam! Loy Machedo is the best.
Hi there, Loy Machedo. Speaking to you from loymachedo.com. Who is Loy Machedo and Think Personal Branding? All right, the date is 2nd March 2020. Okay, time right now is 10:39 or 10:40. Okay, just became 10:40. So this is the Ask Me Anything session. I received a total. I put the announcement that you can ask me any question you like, and this will be the March episode, or the first episode of 2020, where you can ask me anything and I'll answer. So I received a total of 1,222 questions in total. That is emails, WhatsApp messages, YouTube comments, Twitter, Line, all the possible apps that people can send me questions. I decided to stop after that because it would never end. Even now, I'm getting one question here and there. So I've taken, whatever can fit in 6 sessions. So this will be the first session. The timestamps will be put down below. It's hard to, compress the entire question, all the questions in the description. So I'll just put a timestamp with the main heading of the question, so you can go there. So if your question has been answered, well, it'll be nice that you can acknowledge in the comment section. Like I said, this is a free service, not charging anything. It would be nice if you can give a like, if you can give a comment, and if you can give a share, because YouTube's algorithm works that way. Yes, do put your comments, do put your thoughts. I never censor them, even if I don't agree with you. So having said that, the last thing is, some people wanted to be anonymous, so I've just taken a nickname for them, and some others wanted to be recognized, so I've gone as per your request. So without wasting any more time, let's go on with question number 1. This is question from a gentleman named KP. He says, now the banks like Dubai Islamic Bank are giving loans up to 4,000 dirhams and 3,000 dirham salary. So if we take a loan, that happens, what will happen if we get terminated? Can we exit the UAE without paying? I want to know the details. Well, I'm taking your question on the face value that you don't want to cheat the system, okay? However, keep this in mind, even if you're planning to cheat the system, or you're planning to take a loan and not pay it back, or you're taking it and taking the responsibility lightly, don't do that, because what has happened is, over the period of time, banks have become smarter. The UAE has also realized that people, especially the banks, are losing trust in the UAE system. And UAE kind of got a very bad name, that people can come there, they can get loans easily, especially during the boom period, and they can just go away. I spoke to one of my friends who works in a very senior position for a bank, and one of them who works, I think, as a regional head or something for an Islamic bank. What he said is they've already started to make the rules a little bit more tight, and anyone who takes a loan, if they do lose their job, immediately the companies have been given instructions that the HR has to inform them, and or as they leave the immigration, if their visa is cancelled, automatically the system will scan and find out, have you paid your electricity bills? Have you paid your Etisalat bills? Have you paid your due bills? Is there any pending payments? And at the as you're trying to exit the country, they will stop you from boarding your plane, and you'll be taken back into the country, and most probably you'll be kept in incarcerated, or you'll be kept in a prison cell until you clear the amount. And if you cannot clear the amount, then you're taken into jail. So personally speaking, I would tell you that if you're taking a loan, just make sure that you have some collateral back home, that is a property or you have some cash where if in case something does happen, you can at least pay the bank, because the news article that came that the banks are now approaching the Indian government and the courts to make sure that whomsoever has taken a loan and gone away, they are brought back. So I would suggest to you is, do not take it with the intention of playing around with the system, because if you do try to play with the system and you get into trouble, then it's much more than what you bargained for. So that is what I would say. Also, at the same time, I would recommend you speak to a couple of bankers and ask them this question, that I've taken a loan, in case I were to lose my job, what would happen? Okay, it's always good to ask the bank manager. Okay, so this is question number 1. Let's go on to question number 2. This is by Sean. Sean, he asks me, were you offered a role in a movie? Well, I was offered a couple of roles here and there, nothing like an A-list movie like Star Wars or anything like that, just small time episodes. Like I was offered a side role as a side villain in a Malayalam movie. I do not know what the movie's name was, but I do know that it was, I think Mohanlal was acting in that, so I was supposed to be a side villain. This was in Dubai. And then I also got called from a casting agent for a Tamil movie. He wanted me to be the villain who gets beaten up in a bar or something like that. In both the cases, I did ask for money, which they said, no, we're doing you a favor. So I said, no, thanks. I was offered a role in Big Brother, where they would pay me money, but I just felt it was a clash of the work that I do, especially in terms of branding. And this happened when I was in Thailand. I was offered to actually work in a porno movie where, they said that they would make it very comfortable and easy. They introduced me to the girls. It was just an accidental meeting. They said, would you like to star? And well, then I thought about it and decided that's not something, because it'll follow me for the rest of my life. So I just thought it's no thanks for that. Then there was another project that I was asked to star in. It was a kind of a documentary, but this was kind of controversial. And I decided going against it because they were trying to expose some big names. So I just was, I kept in mind my safety and decided it's better for me not to star in this movie. So if they do offer, what I tell people is, if you do get a chance to star in a movie, check the pros, check the cons, and ask yourself, are you getting anything? If you're not getting anything, then why are you acting? If you're just doing it for a hobby and you don't mind doing it for free, go ahead. However, without money, for me at least, I prefer not to do anything without money. And now, at least at this point of my life, it has to come to, does it align with my brand and my work? If it does not, I'm not interested. Like, especially with the likes of Big Brother, where it's just cheap publicity, and then it's just nonsense, and the crowd that follows you is just looking for rubbish. So I was not interested. Sean then asked me, what are some of the lessons you can learn from animals? I think the best lesson that I learned from animals is not the loyalty from dogs or cats being very manipulative when they want something. But I think the best lesson that I learned from animals is survival of the fittest. If you're not the sharpest cookie in the block, you can even have your own tribe. Like in the case of lions, they will kill you themselves. So I have always kept this lesson to heart, that it is the survival of the fittest. Then what do you think of the motivational speaker Jay Shetty? I personally don't like his style. I don't like the way he portrays and acts. And he tries to act as this loving, positive, sweet, kind, wisdom-filled guy who is, went to the mountain and got spiritual awakening. I just feel he's a slime ball. This is just my opinion. Because at the end of the day, he wants to make money. Okay, he wants to make money, and he did have this scandal where it seems that he was copying other people's quotes and other people's statements without giving them credit. So he was kind of stealing other people's material. I was not surprised with that because whatever you do know, it's obviously you've read it from somewhere, taken it from somewhere. But this really proved my point that he's trying to portray as this guy with amazing wisdom, understanding, maturity, where all he does is recycle material from other people to appear the sweet, nice, loving guy. But at the end of the day, he's just another wannabe guru who just wants to make money. So why are you trying to portray that you're so selfless, filled with love and compassion, and when you just want to make money in the end? So I don't like him. I don't have anything against him. It's just his style. I just feel he's a sleazy kind of a character. At least, his eyes and the way he talks and his smiley. I prefer a guy like Jordan Peterson, Christopher Hitchens, these guys who just give it to your face, Joe Rogan, Bill Burr. I prefer these guys who give it on your face and tell you, shut the fuck up, like George Carlson, who is a comedian. So these are my kind of people. Okay, the next one is a question by Cupid. The question is, what's your definition of toxic masculinity in every single respect? Whenever I receive these fancy pansy terms, toxic masculinity, feminism, immediately I have to refer the bloody Wikipedia because I don't know what the fuck are all these new terminologies that these youngsters come. So obviously you must be a youngster to use these terms. So I checked it out in Wikipedia and it says, toxic masculinity is thus defined by adherence to traditional male gender roles that consequently stigmatize and limit the emotions boys and men may comfortably express, while statuing other emotions as anger. Or in simpler words, I checked another definition. Masculinity is also called manhood or manliness, being like macho, is a set of attributes, behavior, roles associated with boys and men, traits traditionally viewed as masculine in Western society, like courage, strength, independence, leadership, and assertiveness. Now, this is a very popular term that focuses on problems that males face, like violence and sexism. So, what do I think of toxic, that is negative masculinity? Okay. It is very real. There are many cases where men tend to be abusive, that is, use physical force because they can't control their temper. But that doesn't mean feminine or females do not have toxic, characteristics. Women can be very scandalous. They can be very gossipy. They can be very vengeful. They can be very manipulative in nature. So it's not just on men, but it's also on women as well. So I just feel that in today's day and age, given that every person has access to social media, every person can make their voice heard. So you get every Tom, Dick, and Harry and every idiot who believes what they're saying is common sense. And they sometimes use the platform of being online to destroy people's lives. And then you get a bunch of brainless fucking idiots who jump on the bandwagon and try to bring a person down. So I would just say that toxic or negative masculinity or personality traits should be viewed from case to case basis. There's no one size fits all. But what I firmly believe is, if there is something you cannot and do not want to show publicly and you try to do it privately and quietly, means there is something wrong. But if you're doing something that is public and everyone can see it, then you have nothing to hide. Yes, there will be people who would not like things that you do. Let's say, for example, in my case, I believe if my child needs to be disciplined, a little bit of spanking is due. So now people from the West, they might say this is child abuse. In Canada, it'll be more like they would even take my child away from me. In Australia, maybe, or in Canada or US, they would just call the, social service and take my child away from me. In Canada, I heard that if your child, even as young as 3, says or decides that it wants to have a gender reassignment surgery or gender change, they firmly support this, which I find totally ridiculous. So, in my case, if my child needs spanking, that's what I, if I feel that is required to discipline my child, that's what I do. So, but the world outside is like, no, you should be loving, you should be caring. So I tell them, shut the fuck up, because I'm paying the bills, I'm taking care of my child, I know what is best for my child. You focus on your child, you focus on your life. Now, this also can be taken in the wrong way, because there are some people who abuse their children just because they pay their bills. But like I said, you have to decide from case to case basis. Okay, so there's no one size fits all. That I hope answers your question. But like I always say, the true test of a person's character is when they have all the power in the world and they choose not to, abuse it. Okay. So the next question by Cupid, the question is the best and only very best foods to be eaten every single day for a person who wishes to remain hyperactive physically and mentally, or both. I would say that any freshly cooked food, fresh fruits, not cooked, fresh vegetables, not overcooked, meat, everything in moderation is good. Like, I have never heard of anyone getting sick by eating fresh fruits. I've never heard of anyone getting sick by eating lots of fresh vegetables. Meat, it depends, white or red. White meat, once again, I've not heard anyone getting sick, unless, of course, you're allergic to shellfish. Meat, some people agree, some people do not agree. So I would just say it depends if you're vegetarian or non-vegetarian. If you're vegetarian, eat fresh food. Non-vegetarian, also fresh food, but be very selective on the type of meat that you eat. I always tell people, eat in moderation, don't overeat. And if you're eating processed food or stuff that is like in packages, just balance it out. Avoid fast foods because they are all highly processed. And yes, stuff like sweeteners, sugar, especially white sugar, is not good at all. I'm guilty of eating a lot of chocolates. So just be careful of that. And it's very good to balance it out with eating mixed kind of foods and, yes, exercising as well. So when in doubt, I always tell people, if you're sick, whenever you're sick, the food that they give you, which is very selected and very carefully chosen, is more or less the food that you need to help you get quick energy. Okay, so just be careful, research, and find out what works out best for you, because longevity and consistency is more important than short-term crash diets. Okay, and the last and final question from Cupid is, what could be the single reason for a male to not be appreciative and respective of females in general? I think it comes down to upbringing, it comes down to culture, it comes down to selection of friends, and it comes down to individual personalities and how their mind works. If you factor in all these, I think this would clearly give you why a male is either appreciative or respective, not respective towards a particular female. Okay. So the next one is a question by Kumar. Okay, Kumar asks this question. Loy, you charge a good amount of money. Okay, I charge $167, which if it is a good amount of money for you, then I don't think you should approach me as a customer, because today an iPhone costs $1,000. So if you're someone who feels $167 for my consultation is too expensive, you're not my client. You should approach someone who is much more cheaper than me. So, and remember this, the money that you're paying me is an investment for yourself, because you're approaching me for my one-to-one personal guidance. I do give a lot of free content. I put it out every single day. I've written more than 4,000 plus articles. So this is for free, where you have not paid me a single cent. So even after this, if you still want my service, well, you're doing yourself a favor. But if you feel this is a good amount of money, like you say, There are other websites like Fiverr, Forward, Upwork, Freelancer, Guru, where they charge you anything from $5. So maybe you should go to some of these websites where they give you anything for $5, or maybe you should try just a Google search, you get something for free. Okay. So back to the question by Kumar, you charge a good amount of money. We can contact you only via email or phone. Yes, of course, that's how the world moves now. You speak through emails or phones. How do we know if you're genuine or good? I did answer this question once before, especially in Dubai, when people used to say, "Oh, I'm going to speak to you on email and phone." So I asked them, "What do you want to do? Meet me face to face?" I said, if they say yes. So if you're going to meet me face to face, you pay me much more because you're taking my time, you're coming there, I have to block everything, I have to focus 100% on you. And that's quite an inconvenience for me. So you pay me much more. Then they ask me like, when I meet you face to face, what are you going to do? Sit on my lap? Am I going to hug you? Am I going to kiss you? Am I going to hold you? What is it that we're going to do? We are still going to talk, right? So it's still going to be talking. It's still going to be just exactly how we're going to be on the phone. The only difference is you're going to see me face to face. So I don't see the difference between it's like when you read my article, you're reading text. When you see my videos, you're seeing me, communicating. So what more do you want? Do you want to sit on a person's lap? And if you do want face to face, that is one to one online, it's a bit more. And if you do want to physically sit down with me and want me to make you the center of the universe for those few minutes, it gets charged 10 times more. So the price increases accordingly. So then his question goes, Kumar says, how do you know if you're genuine or good? If you do not have the maturity, the understanding, the ability to evaluate a person after more than 4,000 articles, after being online for more than, I think, 11 years, after watching my videos every single day, if you still can't evaluate my personality, my service being good or bad, then you seriously have a problem with you. You need to check your mental capacity. You need to check your maturity. And you need to ask, someone to take you to a psychiatrist or psychologist. I'm not saying it in a bad way. I'm not saying it to disrespect you. To find out, maybe you need to find out what is wrong with you. Because if after all this, you're still, I don't know if you're good or not, well, then you lack the maturity. And one last thing, if you're not sure, try something small, like try a small service. If you're not comfortable with $167, well, there's an email service for, maybe, I don't know, what's the rate, $59 or something. So there's something small. So, and if that is also not affordable to you, like, a service like this, you have sent me a question, I'm answering a question. If you still can't evaluate if this is genuine or this is real or this is good, then the best solution is find someone else, because then it all depends on your capacity to invest in yourself. Like I told you, there's Fiverr, Forward, Freelancer, Upwork, Guru.com. They charge you, I think, $5. So I think you should go there. Then he says, Loy, as a client, how do we know if you're genuine? How would we know if you deliver good service? How do you know if you have not met you or know you personally? Now, how do you know if you're genuine or not? How can you evaluate a service? Like, let's say, for example, I give you advice. Okay, you want to lose weight. I give you advice. Do more exercise, eat more healthy food. So how do you know if that is genuine or not? How do you know if that works or not? That is only if you use the advice given, you evaluate, you tweak it, you work on it, and then you see the results. For that, it takes time. For that, it takes maybe a year. I worked with a coach for 1 full year. I paid him 500, that is 200 and roughly $270 an hour. I paid him for every, 1 hour a day. I think in a week I was to meet him 3 times. And I did this for 1 full year. And only then I was able to evaluate whether he was good or bad. It took me 1 year. Initially, I didn't like many things about him. I didn't like the fact that he was rude. I didn't like the fact that he was hard on me. But then this is what helped me grow. So it took 1 year. I spent a shitload of amount of money. I think $10,000 plus. So you don't have the capacity to pay that. So obviously, the amount of money that you have is only $167, maybe even less than that. So how would you know? If you don't have the time, you don't have the money, you need to find someone else. And how do you know if someone gives a good service or not? Let me tell you this. Tony Robbins, one of the greatest, the best self-development guru, okay, the coach. I have purchased every single DVD, every single VCD, every single MP3, every single CD, every single book, every single course. I think I've spent more than $8,000, okay, 8,000 on all his material over the years. Now, I'm pretty sure you know Tony Robbins. I'm pretty sure that the world knows Tony Robbins. I'm pretty sure you must have downloaded his stuff for free. You can, get peer to peer. Now, even though he's so good, out of, let's say, 100 things that I purchased from him, only 20 were good. The rest were just average, the rest were just bad. So now, do I say that his service is good? Do I say that his coaching is good? Do I say it is bad? Some of his advice worked on me. Some of it did not work. So now, how do I evaluate this? So I hope this answers your question, whether a coach is good or not good. Remember, different people have different experiences. It's trial and error. My style of coaching may work with one person. It may not work with one person. My style of guidance may work with one person, may not. If I tell a person, do this exercise, a person may try it, may not try it, may like it, may not like it. So it's a very difficult one size fits all for everyone. So like I said, if you feel that, I'm parting away with my money, my precious money, I don't know if he's good or not good, I don't think you're the right person to be my student or be my client. Okay, so I hope this answers your question. The next question asked by Kumar is, what are the future of jobs in the UAE for the next 5 to 10 years? That's a very long time. You're talking of 2030. Okay. Now, the only thing I can tell you is, one is, we do not know the future. But I can absolutely assure you that jobs like sales will forever remain there. Sales is not going to go anywhere. Sorry. The second thing is not going to service-based industry is never going to go, like hotels, like technicians, like repairmen, engineers. It's never going to go anywhere. But they would ask you to upgrade your skills. Let's say, for example, sales, maybe, without a license, obviously can't function in the Middle East. But in terms of sales, okay, fine. They would want you to be more fluent, have an amazing personality, have social media skills. That would be the slight upgrade. But in service-based, you would need to know the latest softwares, the latest applications. You'd have to be up to date. Okay. However, if there was one prediction I can give for sure, there will be a decline in banking and finance. This sector would be very gravely impacted. And one more thing I do see the government moving towards is giving more importance towards locals, Emiratis, because they would definitely want to get employed because their population is increasing. So overall, I would say in the next 5 to 10 years, UAE as a market would be more competitive. It would be more in demand in terms of, being competitive in terms of your skills. Tough jobs, there would always be a vacancy because people would work for a few number of months or years and they would leave. So, but one thing that would remain always is sales and service based. Okay. Question number 3 by Kumar is, what jobs would not exist if AI takes over? Process-based jobs. I believe process-based jobs like banking, finance, manual jobs like sorting, they try to computerize this because they want to cut down on costs. They want to make it faster. They want to make it error-free. Like even in Amazon now, instead of human beings sorting out boxes, they have machines which keep, transporting these boxes much more faster. They have wheels and they can automate. So each person has a time limit with what he's supposed to do. It's a very pressure cooker kind of a job where when you pick up a document, immediately there's a timer. So you have like 2 minutes. You can actually see the timer, the clock it's going. So you have to finish and sort this out within the time. And depending how fast you are, you get paid much more. But you need to finish that task within that time period. And the uh, the accuracy has to be very, very high. You can't make mistakes. So AI does take over. The jobs that they would take over is, yes, banking, finance, and manual sorting based jobs. Anywhere where you can get a computer, those jobs will be replaced. But one thing I want you to keep in mind is many jobs are going to be outsourced because they have to cut down their cost. If you do not cut down your cost, you cannot survive. And this tendency to have a physical location, I think, will not exist anymore. So, last, if not the least, this question. Loy, if I'm not satisfied with your service or your work, will you refund my money? Will you do a partial refund if you're not satisfied with your work or your service? Well, here's the thing. If you're not happy with my service, can you give me back my time? Can you give me back my expertise? Can you give me back the effort that I put into it? You can't give me back. So if you can't give me back my time, my effort, my expertise, why should I give you back the money that you have paid me? It's like a woman saying, okay, I'll get married to you, but if I'm not happy with the marriage, can you return my virginity back to me? Can you return back my dowry? Can you return back all the expenses? I don't think any man would agree to that. So in the same way, or a woman, let's say, for example, we switch roles and a man tells a woman, if I'm not happy with you after marriage, I will just dump you and go on for another woman. And you have to refund me all the wedding expenses and everything else. I don't think anybody would agree. So, like I said, if you're so scared, if you're so afraid, I don't think you should be my client. So, guys, this is the first batch of questions that I decided to answer. There are quite a number of them. I'll be doing it in small slots. And in case you found anything of value, do give me your comments. Give me a like if you want. And like I said, these are all the questions that were sent by you. I'll be answering them batch-wise. I hope this is something that you appreciate. Let me know your thoughts. This is me signing off for now. Take care.